Does Tien make the top 10? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video for you here today. We are hopping back into our LR tier list and trying to place a few of the LRs that we've yet to talk about in our tier list since April of this year, right? Since we got the EZA for the Hit and God Goku, we haven't really talked about where to place some of these units. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to place our top 10 for the red zones, our long type content, and our short content with our battle hardened formidable foes. As always, we do like to start with our list pre-filled out from the previous time so we can see how that list shifts, because I feel that most tier lists, they start from scratch and we tend to look away from units that get moved off the list or who are not mentioned. Even a lot of people tend to think, well, he's not on the list, they must not be good anymore. Well, that's not always the case, right? Which is why I like to do this dynamic list that shows how the units are shifting as the meta shifts or as new units are added, where things are moving around. And of course, right, my mind can change from time to time as I use a unit more and more, and their rankings might change. And though I think it's important to acknowledge that when we talk about ranking units in a single player game like Dokkan. So let's go ahead, let's hop in. As always, when we rank our units, we look at the following three things. This is my criteria. This is my list. Your list might be different. You might look at different things, right? You know, whatever you are looking at. Let us know in the comments down below how you like to rank your units. So I look at consistency, right? What is the unit's function? Does it do it well, and does it do it often? Then I look at versatility, right? How many different places can they be used, right? Different types of content and different types of teams. And then finally, we look at power, right? Is this unit so powerful that we can kind of forgive its limitations? Think LR Tech Broly, for example. So let's go ahead, let's hop in. Let's start with the red zones, because I know the long content, that's what everybody really cares about. Let's start with Hit and God Goku. Hit and God Goku are a great unit. In terms of consistency, they are one of the first units to sort of introduce this slot mechanic where you move a unit back and forth between slots, right? You want them in slot 2 or 3 at first to build up their defense, and then you want them in slot 1 to begin building their attack. So they can be inconsistent in regard that it does really kind of matter where the attack placements are and whether it's not whether or not it's safe to put them in slot 1. They do have some dodge to kind of help mitigate that, but a lot of times, right, they'll end up being floated off to build their defense, and it's not always the best for them. It then becomes harder and harder to build their attack back up especially after you've floated them twice, because they get their defense built in the third slot. In terms of versatility, right, they do have very, very limited teams, right? Hit's team, for example, is probably the best place where you're going to find use for them. There aren't too many other teams that you're going to be throwing them onto, and as such, they are severely limited in their versatility. But they do really well in red zones and battle hardened formidable foes, so they get a point there. Power, right? Their power really comes out once they've sort of shifted into their role as attacker after they've been floated twice to build their defense. Nothing crazy, but enough to, you know, get by as a partner for the bigger attacker who is int Hit. So honestly, pretty good all things considered, but I really don't think they break their mold into the top 10. So for them, they're going to shift right into our honorable mentions, right? These are just units that are all great units, but not necessarily breaking into the top 10. They're all good units that can be viable on a lot of the current teams, but not doing anything too crazy. All right, so up next we have the Caulifla, who we didn't really get to talk about before, but Caulifla, in terms of consistency, when she's in the Caulifla state, she is pretty consistent in the red zones, right? For her first couple of turns, right, she's dodging her first hit, right? She's got a guaranteed dodge on that first hit. After that, she does have a little bit of dodge. I mean, she can be kind of iffy slot 1, right? But in slot 2, she's going to be doing all right. Obviously, you want her to dodge first to get that little bit of power, but beyond turn 1, she's going to be doing all right. Once you hit turn 6 and you can swap into Kale and tag into that, then she's going to be really coming out in terms of power. Kale is one of the more powerful units out there, especially if you got some dupes in her. And on that active skill turn, she's going to be throwing out some very large attack stats. We're talking, 150 to 200 or million. If she lands all of the supers and gets max key spheres. So really, really powerful card. I would say that honestly, she probably is going to shift right here at number... I would probably shift her right here at number 8. Shifting down Gohan, and honestly, the more I have used Gohan here, I would probably shift him off into the honorable mention section. And I'm going to talk about a little more about that when we get to the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, right? We have always understood that Red Zone is not his place, but now that we have more options to sort of move this team around, I think this is a lot better. So yeah, I would shift her down here at number 8. I don't think she's better than a lot of the other ones at the top, right? She's not really providing much of what Broly is providing for Uncontrollable Powers team. Beast is still kind of doing what Beast is doing, and still very helpful in the red zones. So I don't think she's really passing out any of those guys. So 8 is pretty comfortable for her. So then that brings the question, what about Tien? Well, Tien has consistency, right? He has the slot mechanic like Hit and God Goku, except 10 times better, right? You begin in slot 1 where he's going to get key and attack and defense, and then you move into slot 2 where he's immediately throwing out a 40 million attack stat, right? On that turn, on his next appearance after that, put him back in slot 1, get that key, get that offense and defense, and then drop him back into slot 2 on the following turn, and now you've got a 50 million attack stat, and rinse and repeat, right? We're talking about a unit that can build up over 100 million before the mid phases of Festival of Battles. Like, that's how quick he's building, right? So he's got consistency, he's got power. He's a tad bit limited on versatility, being that he is an earthling, and he has very, very few partners. His partners are Tao, pretty much, and that's kind of where he's limited in terms of his versatility, but that's also forgiven by his leader skill being both Final Trump card and Earthlings. Not only gives him access to his best partners, but also allows your other rotation to be run as one of the big fusion characters, right? The Vegito, Gogeta, these two, right? So honestly, I can kind of give him a pass there. And because he's so good at what he does, I would say that nests him right here in the middle at number 5, shifting down Beast, shifting down Broly, and everyone else on this list. So I would say that this is a pretty comfortable spot for him, right in the middle. He's not getting anywhere near Vegito, right? I would say it's pretty, he's pretty close in terms of what he's doing, but these guys all offer a little more to the team than he does, right? The fusions, of course, we know the year 7s are going to be very useful in dealing the big damages at the end. His support plus giant form, right? And then, of course, his support and then his target skill, right? They all offer more for the team in the aggregate than he does by himself. So that's kind of why they're going to always sort of be the top 5 here, with him nestling nicely right here. Now, I did want to move a little bit around here. At this point, the more I've used them, Gotenks still, I think, can nestle here in the top 10. And honestly, I would argue you could probably put Goku Frieza here as well. The more I've used them, the more I find that they probably deserve a slot here at number 10 to 11. So just kind of throwing that out there, something to consider. But I do believe Pikkon deserves a little spot up, right, from number 10 since our last discussion. So this is kind of where I feel these are all at for the red zones. Honestly, pretty good spot. Tien right smack dab in the middle of the top LRs, rivaling right the best units in the game, right? And that's saying a lot for a yellow coin LR. So now it begs the question, what about Battle Hardened Formidable Foes? What about our short content, right? It does matter, right? We can very clearly see that the devs are building units for this. So where do these units fit into that? Well, starting with Hit and God Goku, again, versatility, power, and consistency. This is where those three things actually come out, more so here than in red zone, right? And so, right, and that's because like here they can take advantage of most of their passive, their attack lowering, their stunning, which is the most helpful thing here. And because of that, right, they often don't need to move into their defensive stance. They can remain offense, allowing you to melt through HP bars a lot faster. And so for that, I would probably put them right here at number 8, shifting down Broly and UI, and then shifting off Gotenks, actually, right? I think Pikkon still kind of deserves a spot here because of what he's doing on like Hit's team. So this these guys are kind of stuck together just because they are both kind of brought for either their revive, or in his case the domain. That they're both kind of brought for the same reason, to utilize their mechanic and not much else. Although he does have stunning, which is helpful, but I think they're nestled slightly here. For Kale and Caulifla, unfortunately, they don't even make this list, right? We'll put them in the honorable mentions, but I mean, this just isn't their fight, right? You know, you'll get a little bit of their dodge for the fight, but you know, Caulifla's not putting out damage, and you know, you're not going to see Kale, you're not going to see turn 6 in this fight to transform them. So this just isn't their fight. They don't even make the list for the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, unfortunately. Tien, however, right? Tien, however, he can, you know, you're not going to get him fully built up, but you're still going to get him enough to where, right, because of how consistent he is in building his offense, right, you're still going to get him to throw out a 50 million super pretty easily. And, you know, in a fight where the highest HP is 300 million, right, that's a pretty significant chunk. And if he gets a double super, that's even better. Add on to the fact that he is attack lowering and his best partners can stun, that makes him a pretty powerful force to be reckoned with. And honestly, I would say that puts him right here at number 6, shifting down the year 7s, shifting down Goku, shifting these guys down, and then shifting Pikkon down. Now, I say 6 because I don't think he's quite better than Gohan. Gohan comes out the gate swinging in these fights, especially if you got the dupes in him. A lot better than some of the others. His only main issue is the AoE, but I mean, realistically, looking at this entire list, the AoE is an issue for all of them, right? So I'm not really factoring that against them, although he can tank it, and on his active skill, he can tank it, but then you have to consider the rest of the team can't. It has to be able to live it too. Same goes for Broly, but that's where you have things like this guy, was why he's number 1, because at the point that that's dangerous, he just ghost ushers it and it doesn't matter. So that's why I don't really factor that as a negative against them, because I mean, really most of these units can't survive it. Although it is I believe it's a Ki Blast super. All right, so we pulled up Broly and Cellmax, so you can actually see that their AoEs are Ki Blast, which means Tien can actually counter them, or at least has a chance to counter them. So you know what? Considering that, I might actually put him above Gohan here. Yeah, okay, I would put him above Gohan. Because of that, I would definitely put him above Gohan, right? The fact that he can counter the Ki Blast super there, Yeah, he deserves this spot. So he makes number 5 on both lists. I think everybody else here provides a little more than the team to the team than him, right? Him being able to tank and provide that giant form is a lot better, more so than this guy who does provide the support, but his defense is a little bit lacking. He just doesn't have the time to build up the defense for it to matter in battle hardened formidable foes. And same with these guys, right? They're really just turn 3 merchants, right? You get turn 1, you get a little bit of defense to help you build up everybody else. Turn 3 is a little iffy for them in most of the fights, and then maybe you're transforming them if you make it to turn 4 or 5, but the reality is you're probably not. So that's kind of why I don't worry too much about them. And you know that just the rest are providing a little bit more in those early turns than they are. So I kind of like this list for battle hardened formidable foes. So this are the lists for red zone and for battle hardened formidable foes. Again, this is my list based on my criteria: consistency, versatility, and power. I put a lot of thought into this, and of course my lists change. They are organic. They don't you know, they don't have to be set in stone. There's a lot here you could argue to shift, right? Like looking at the red zones, honestly, I could see an argument for moving these two above the Gogeta, right? I could see an argument for moving these guys, you know, for, you know, moving maybe the Brolys above Beast, right? You know, there's not a whole there's nothing here that's completely set in stone, and the more I use units, the more I move the list around, and I think that that's what's important when it comes to ranking these units. The more we get into this idea of this is the top 10 and there can be no discussion, I think is when we run into issues, right? Especially when we do it in this manner where we're not really paying much attention to those units outside of the top 10. So that's why we do things the way we do here. So guys, that is it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, how would you rank these new units, most specifically Tien? Where would you place him? I'm pretty confident in placing him here right in the middle of the pack. He's not really passing out many of the big 10 anniversary LRs, but he's coming pretty darn close, which is a lot to say for Yellow Coin LR. So guys, that's it for the video. If nothing else, thanks for watching, and aloha.